What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Showdown Breakdown, Where My Turds At special, where we're taking a look at the Monday Night Football showdown between the Rams and the Cardinals. Where My Turds At. All right, it's Monday Night Football, and this is the Showdown Breakdown, Where My Turds At, for the Cardinals and the Rams. My name is Kevin Allen, a.k.a. the Geek from DFS Army, and I've got my boy with me, a special guest. Some of you know him as Cash Keg. Other ones know him as Mr. $100,000 Bills. And other people know him as Sir Craigor Clegane. My boy, Cash Keg. What's up, my man?
What's up, man? So it'd be a good one tonight. Got some crazy ass news a couple hours ago that I don't think any of us expected. So just going to change things a little bit.
Yes. Big news. I like it when Ramsey plays because I could have eliminated DeAndre Hopkins from my player pool. Like I play Ramsey like, hey, he's going to shut you down. That's how I play it. And I like it because it allows me to shut down a player, but we can't do that now. No shutdown corner for the Rams. The other big piece of news, Tyler Higbee being out opens up a super turd. And let me ask you this question, Keg. Kendall Blanton, Bryce Hopkins, whatever, Bryson Hopkins. Do we know which of these guys is the guy?
I mean, everything's kind of pointing towards Blanton, but like I ain't getting overly excited about it. The only thing is, you know that your turd punt is going to be one of these tight ends. So you can just eliminate anything else that's like super turdy and just put one of these tight ends and just limit it to one, because you don't want multiple in your lineup. So
one turd.
That's what I'll do.
One turd to rule all the others is what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. The precious turd?
Precious turd.
I
want to start one thing though. Like I think when you build these lineups, like you got to have a game plan of going forward. But like, for instance, not even just knowing how you're going to build your scripts. One thing that's helped me a ton across the NBA ones and also the last few NFL ones I've done is if you're going to do 150 lineups, jot down your 4 or 5 captains. So if you're going to do 5 captains or 3 captains or whatever the number is, and then write how many number of lineups you're going to do with each captain and let it add up to 150 and then run separate batches. You'll get less turd shitty lineups that way. And then you're just cutting and pasting them into your 150. It's very easy, but you'll have a way better set of lineups if you go that route.
Silver bullet won't slow you down.
That's right, man.
So, looking at this game, number one, it's important to note that there is a Butler bet on this game that I've only ever lost Butler bets. And of course, the curse of the Butler bet has reared its ugly head.
Uh-oh.
So I picked the Rams in that bet. And of course, now you can count on the Cardinals not just winning, but covering a 3-point spread quite easily tonight. So in case anybody likes to bet on these games, that's one way to go. Now let's take a quick look at the matchups sheet here. We'll just go through a little bit about what these teams do. So we'll start with Arizona, right? Number one, James Conner, all by himself. Chase Edmonds, whatever the hell his name is, appears maybe he might be done for the season. But if you take a look at Conner, I mean, they're giving him 90% of the touches. So we probably don't even need to worry about Eno Benjamin or any of these other turds.
As long as it stays close, you don't.
Yeah, if Arizona's blown him out, but I'm not playing the Arizona blowout, Arizona blowout approach.
I mean, this is their game, man. Like this is if the Rams lose this, they're just basically screwed for the season. Like this, they have to win this game.
Yeah, no, really, really critical. So yeah, I don't see Arizona like being up so much that they're resting James Conner. So I mean, it's not the best matchup for Conner, but we can harken back to when San Francisco came out and said, "Hey, let's just run it against these guys every single play," and it worked against the Rams. So it was an interesting approach. It was an interesting approach there. So after and there is another interesting salary situation, and I want to ask you about it. So on DraftKings in particular, so now we get DeAndre Hopkins not going up against Jalen Ramsey. He's not, I don't know what to say about DeAndre Hopkins. He's back. He's healthy. He has not been Mr. 30% targets this season, but he's also probably not priced that way anymore. Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore, and AJ Green round out the wide receiver core for Arizona. As you can see here, if you just take a look at their season-long averages, I mean, everybody's getting just under 20% of the targets. It's pretty crazy.
And it's tough with that. You take a kind of grain of salt because we didn't have Murray for 3 games there. He came back against the Bears and he only threw the ball 15 times and ran 2 tutties in and threw it twice. So, 4 of those games where they don't have him at quarterback can kind of skew those numbers a little bit. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's, Nuke's always, playable. Maybe people look at that and read into it and be like, well, he's not going to get it. But it could go so many ways. Like you said, that first game where they just ran the ball on him. I mean, it's a possibility.
It was an exciting plan that the 49ers used to neutralize the Rams pass rush, and it worked. Like, all right, Aaron Donald, you got Von Miller.
I mean, Von Miller wasn't there that first game, and he's there now. But it's like, maybe they look at it and be like, well, shit, we don't have Ramsey back there now. Maybe, we can chuck the ball a little bit more or whatever. So it's hard to say what they'll exactly do.
The nice thing about the Cardinals is this is a no turd zone. It's a turd-free zone. The turdliest of turds on the Cardinals is Rondell Moore, who's priced at $2K.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
What is that, a misprice? What the hell is DraftKings doing there with Rondell Moore?
I mean, when I saw that price, I was like, yikes. Now, again, we had those games where we didn't have Murray, and he hasn't really done a whole lot. Even those 3 games that he didn't have Moore, he actually had one of his better games where he put up 16 fantasy points against Seattle. Where he went 11 for 11 for only 51 yards. He has only went over 100 yards once, and that was against Minnesota on the second game. So we really haven't had a big Rondell Moore game at all this year. So
not recently. No, there was 1 or 2 early in the season, but
there was one big game where he put 24 points against Minnesota. We went 7 for 8 for a $114. But that's really, it's that, and then the one against Seattle 2 weeks ago. But Murray wasn't even quarterback then, so it's like it might be a fair price, But it's still, with his upside, you still have to consider him because he can take one of the house at any point in time, And if he does, he'll be in the optimal.
2K is so cheap; it's almost, it's well below the kicker zone, and it's almost a price where just 7 or 8 fantasy points is enough.
Right.
So he doesn't need to have that crazy good game. He could just, as long as he gets 4 targets for 4 receptions and 40 yards, that probably would be enough. It's hard to know, but yeah. And Damon's mentioning AJ Green. All of these guys are going to be used. It's really tricky with the Cardinals to pick, and Zach Ertz is in the mix as well. And you could see here, they're all getting now 1 week sample size aside, 19%, 17%. 17%, 16%, 15%. And this 15% you have to ignore a little bit because he was out for 3 or 4 weeks. But overall, you're seeing these wide receivers, they're spreading the football around very, very generously on the Cardinals, which means that we might want to take a look at the players on the Rams for producing higher fantasy totals. And let's talk a little bit of the Rams. The Rams have been, I'm going to say, slumping just a little bit lately, but I think it's important to note, Keg, that Sony Michel with with Darrell Henderson out last week, 97% of the touches.
Yeah, just slugged him right in there. Like, you're the boy. You're it.
Just play Sony Michel.
Yeah.
The only thing holding him back in this game, listen, if the Rams just play like shit and they get beat 35-0, fine. But
yeah, they brought Sargent in last week, but again, he didn't have really any time. But like, that's the only reason you're playing Sargent at 600 is you think they're getting blown out, and they're like, well, they're just going to run him out there. But again, you and I both think it's going to be close, so there's no reason not to. And he saw 4 targets that game too, so it's not like he's just getting run. They're using him just like they use Henderson.
Borderline all in play on Sony Michel.
Yeah,
could be 100%er. Could be 100%er potential. I need to see the pricing, but could be 100%er on Sony Michel. Beyond him, obviously, Van Jefferson has kind of stepped up a little bit. Cobb, Jefferson, Beckham. Look at this beautiful distribution of targets. I'm obsessed with this. Okay, all 3 guys are just getting a bunch of targets every game. They don't throw to the tight end. There's no tight ends to worry about. The Kendall Blanton, Higbee is out. All of the goodness going to these 3 guys. You can't ask for more. That is a condensed offense. It's the exact opposite of what you see over here. This is spread out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players. Even a sixth if you add Connor. You got 6 players getting looks. Right here, it's only 3. It's only 3. So we have a beautiful condensed offense, couple of turds here, Blanton or Hopkins. And I've heard mention of Ben Skowronek a couple times. So these are the turds, right? Skowronek, Blanton, Hopkins. Do you have a preference?
I really don't. Because it could go so many different ways, like it really could. It's like, I don't think they're just going to throw Blanton in and he's going to be the Higbee role. I don't think it's going to be something like that. I think McVay will just, they got to win this game. So whatever they got to do to win it. And it's not just going to be that. So I don't think it's just those plug and play, like a Sony Michel type where he's the Henderson role. It's not like that with the tight end.
And it's not like Higbee does that much anyway. Bryson Hopkins. So Antoine, who's always very contrarian, the most contrarian commenter of them all by far. He likes Bryson Hopkins. There you go. Okay. Imagine you put Hopkins in thinking it was Nuke. Yeah. And it's like Bryson. Type in the word Hopkins and you put him in there. Could be Van Jefferson. Any one of these guys.
It really could. It's just like, I would just make a rule where you're only playing one of them. Because the turds. On the slate. Yeah. On the turds. Because there's too many cheap guys. I mean, you talk about Sony Michel, his rush prop is higher than Connor's, and he's $2K cheaper. So there's just, these guys are so underpriced that there's no reason to go that many cheap guys. Like just swap them in and out.
Let's check some of these salaries. So Sony Michel coming in at 7,200 on DraftKings. I mean, that is for free.
Yeah,
that's free. Van Jefferson 8K, fine. Hopkins 9,600. Where's Odell? Yeah, 6,200. I mean, I don't think salaries seem pretty easy to me.
Yeah, I think you can build whatever the hell you want to. Like, I don't think it's like, you got to have one turd to get in all the studs. I don't think it's like that. I think you can build pretty nice lineups without having to go the turd route. So I wouldn't go like super heavy on those guys and be like, I got to have them, because it could be just as easily more of a balanced build that wins this very easily.
This is my kind of showdown. So let's talk about DraftKings potential captain plays. And as you know, our studies over the years have determined that there's a hierarchy of ideal DraftKings captains. It really starts with pass catchers, and ideally, big time pass catchers, but all pass catchers are in play. I think when you look across these two teams, I'm definitely apt a little bit to lean towards the pass catchers from the Rams, again, because of that condensed target share that they're seeing, and they seem a little underpriced. Cooper Kupp, though, is the end-all, be-all of GOATs. And can we afford Cooper Kupp this week on DraftKings at 12K, 18K captain with all of the value floating around? I guess that's going to be a big question that we're going to have to figure out.
Yeah, he's expensive.
I mean,
but I mean, he puts up a 40 burger and you could easily be in there. It's like, but that if you put a Cooper Kupp captain up there, you are going to be using one of the turds basically. So you have to. That is some of the ones where you'll have to use if you use some of the other ones. And like so, I never run quarterbacks up there, but this is like one of the few showdowns you have to with Murray because of his rushing upside. And if he puts 2 in the box like last week and he puts up 30, he could easily be in the winner. So I usually never run him, but it's like when you get running quarterbacks like this, he could be the top scoring easily on Arizona over these other guys, and you don't need him. So
it's exactly what I was going to say. Whereas I'm not really interested in Matt Stafford, although I could see a scenario for Matt Stafford getting there, but maybe I'll just kind of get my exposure on FanDuel for him. But Kyler Murray's definitely in play. He runs for touchdowns.
And you got to make those hard choices too. It's like, I don't want to have 17 different captains. I want to condense them down to who I think is going to be there. And it's just Murray's going to be there way more often than Stafford is going to be there. And if Stafford is there, he's probably threw the ball 20 times to Kupp, and he's double the score. And you had to have one of the turds to win. So I wouldn't play Stafford in the captain, but like you said, get your exposure to him on FanDuel.
Yeah, I won't play Stafford either at the captain spot. I think he could get there. There is a path. Ooh, what would Bobbywow do? That's always a question.
There he is.
That might get answered.
Hey, what's up?
All right. What's up, Bobbywow? Welcome.
Thanks, guys. It's good to see you.
All right. And you're sounding good too. You got the mic all set up, got the new computer going. Love it.
Yes.
Nice. So we're just talking about captains on DraftKings. And yeah, I mean, I'm not super into Matthew Stafford. Keg's not into Matthew Stafford. We don't really, we don't like playing non-rushing quarterbacks on DraftKings. It's just a thing. They're expensive. So they don't only need to outscore their wide receivers. They got to do it probably by a wide margin because they're more expensive. I never like playing them. So moving on from there, James Conner's an interesting one. I don't know if I'm into James Conner against the Rams, but I guess yeah. Hunter likes James Conner too for some reason. He's getting all the touches. What's your feeling on Conner, Bobbywow?
Yeah, I mean, I have a personal bias against James Conner just because he's hosed me in season long so many times. But I think Hunter brought up a good point. The Rams are actually allowing a decent amount of yardage per rush. So there's definitely some merit to playing James Conner, especially if we see a similar flow to what they did against the Bears a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I think so.
Yeah, listen, he's in the mix for me. His price is very high, 9,800 here. It doesn't make me excited. But he's going to get all the carries, all the touches, and they throw to him. There's nothing that I don't like about him in the spot, other than the fact that Kyler Murray likes to take the touchdowns for himself when he can. That's always a challenge.
One fun thing about Conner's a little bit, I was looking up just some of his game logs, with Murray sitting, when Murray was out those 4 games, he actually saw more targets, which of course you're going to see that, when McCoy was there. But, just looking back at that last game in LA, he 18 for 50, 2 targets, caught 2 balls for 16 yards, put up 20 DraftKings points. I don't know if that's going to get you there in this slate, but, I'm going to have a ton of him in flex, but I think I'm just going to take a stand and not have him as one of my captains. But, he's going to get all the work, so I think it's a great spot for him. I just don't know. Murray just always worries me for his ceiling, because it's like the dude's like, when he put up those 40 DraftKings points in San Francisco, again, that was with McCoy, not with Murray, and he just loves, man. It's so tilting. He's get down there in the 5-yard line. He's like, nope, it's mine, buddy. You ain't getting that touchdown.
Murray likes to take the touchdown.
He loves it.
But every once in a while he doesn't do that, and then and then Conner gets 3. That's why you just can't ignore it.
He hasn't done it this year. That's it. That's the problem with him. He hasn't. He'll get 1, but he ain't gonna let him get more than 1.
For sure.
I think he's a great flex play though. I mean, he's gonna get all the work.
Other potential captain plays. Listen, any wide receiver is in play for me. Van Jefferson, sure, why not? I really like Sony Michel as a captain. He's not like, he's cheap, so I'll play him. I love Sony Michel. I think he'll score more fantasy points today, potentially, than James Conner, or he could. He's going to get 100% of the snaps for his team. I love him as a captain. I love him as a flex play. I love Sony Michel across the board. I have his song, his music queued up for when he scores a touchdown tonight. I'm going to play it in my channel in DFS Army Discord.
I'd rather have him than Conner. He'll be in one of my 5 that I'll run, just because I get the 2K difference, and his props are higher than Conner's, and he's not going to get, if they're down at the red zone, man, and they're going to pound that ball in, it ain't going to be Stafford's ass. So
would I play Conner and Kyler in the same lineup? Yeah, I don't think you should make a rule against that, Speedway. I don't think you should make a rule against it. AJ Green, I don't think I can get there. Bobbywow, can you get there with AJ Green as a captain?
I can't. He's not on my list. I think there's a couple other guys you could make a case for, but AJ Green is not one of them for me.
I'd rather use Rondell Moore as a captain than AJ Green.
I agree, yes.
I think Rondell Moore, if he just does that 24-point thing, he has a history where he's going to do that. So far, he's done it, once or twice this year, 20 plus. So, he does it 20% of the time. I'll take, or 15% of the time, I'll take one of those games from Rondell Moore for his price, definitely over AJ Green. I'm not into AJ Green. I'll play him, but I'm not into him as a captain. I'm trying to think if we've got him. Odell Beckham, does he get you interested at all?
He does for me a little bit. I just seeing the ownership and how low it is. I mean, it feels like Sean McVay is doing everything he can to integrate him more and more. I don't know if you guys saw the video. There was a video of him just super pumped up about OBJ catching the touchdown last week. So, yeah, I do have a little interest there, especially because the projected ownership is so low.
I think so too. And finally, I'd say Christian Kirk is playable there. As what we've seen Christian Kirk have multiple touchdown games this season. We're trying to win tournaments on DraftKings. If you go with the obvious plays, you usually are going to it's more difficult to try to win using the more obvious plays because everybody's doing that. So let's say you played Christian Kirk and he just has a 30-pointer out of nowhere, and you have him and you're one of 3% or 2% of people that use him as a captain. It's not that hard to get from that to, winning, $500,000 or $100K or whatever the contest looks like. And SB loves Kirk tonight. So
if you have Kirk though in your captain, don't have any nuke.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting all the goodness. It's less likely.
Like if you're playing those guys that are going to be in there, it's like because of just at his price, I don't think he's going to get there if he's going to have a blow up spot.
Maybe you guys already discussed this, but curious from Keg, thoughts on Zach Ertz as a potential low-owned captain guy?
Yeah, I like him. It's just nobody seems to play him, and he's in that awesome price point. He's like in that Kirk, that
AJ
price
Green.
point where more will go to him, and we haven't seen a lot with him, with Murray though, because
right.
So that's like. Yeah, he saw 2 targets that last game against the Bears, or caught one of them. It's like I just worry is he going to utilize them or not? But at that price, he's got so many weapons at his disposal that he could do it. But it's like it's one of those things where when you look at it, you're like, yeah, he did a lot of work when McCoy was there, but is Murray going to show him the same love in a matchup like this, which I think they can exploit.
Just looking further through, and Hunter's getting a lot of Ertz for whatever that's worth as captain with his projections, but for whatever that's worth. So I'm not super into the kickers or the defenses tonight. I want to ask, I'm going to throw it over to you guys. I'm not interested in the kickers or the defenses very much. I don't see it as that kind of a game, but Bobbywow, I know you hate kickers and defenses. Feel the same?
Yeah, I'm in a position where I need a kicker or a defense to give me a reason to play them. And I just don't see a reason to go out of my way to play them tonight. So I'm with you on that.
Keg?
I have a little more love towards the kickers than I do the defenses, just because there's times when they get down there, it stalls a little bit and they kick. It just depends on the game. Like, hell, last night, I think Santos had like 16 damn fantasy points, and he's like 3,600. So there's times where they can do it. So I just have more love than the defenses, but especially if you think it's going to be a close, high-scoring game, they're going to move the ball up and down. I don't see the need to go the defenses. I think if I was going to go to one, it would be the Cardinals, and hope you get the Rondell Moore double dip, but yeah, overall, no.
Could happen.
Did the Bears defense end up in the nuts last night?
I don't know. I can pull it up.
They scored a ton. They put up, I think, 12, 13.
Yeah, because there's so many points scored that.
It was a big. Yeah. That's the problem. When it's
it was like, I love the lineup I have. How
that's
the
a good
hell
point.
Is this not up higher than it is?
Yeah.
Fire everywhere in my lineup wasn't enough.
It didn't matter.
Everyone was fire.
It didn't matter.
Just looking at the rest of it, we get to the turd zone. Rondell Moore, 2K, crazy price point for him. You've got a super turd TE2 for Arizona, 1-star play. Ben Skowronek, the WR4 for the Rams. Pretty gross. Mekhi Sargent only coming in if Sony Michel gets hurt. Not excited about that. And then you got Kendall Blanton, and it's funny he didn't even write up that other random tight end, but there's 2 tight ends for the Rams that are going to now potentially be in the game. Blanton and who the hell was the other guy? Bryson Hopkins. These are turds. $400. $400.
To speak to your the Bears D there, I looked it up real quick, Bobby. They weren't in the nut one. It was Adams at captain, Rodgers, Jones, Lazard, Grant, and Bird. That was the nut DK lineup.
All right, Let's try to slap together a nice sort of cashy looking lineup for DraftKings before we move on to FanDuel. I always like to try to do this, and I want to start it with Sony Michel as my captain. I think he falls in that category of cheap enough that he's not really hurting your lineup by putting him at captain, and has all the upside and everything. So that's how I would start mine. And I think your next player is, you kind of want Murray, you kind of want Cooper Kupp in there, and now we're down to 5K. Are you guys with me on this? Did I go wrong already?
One intriguing thought. Yeah, I like the cap. I like Murray. I like Michelle. I think one intriguing thought that I was looking at was maybe a little more risky, but putting Rondell Moore at captain and allowing every other guy. Woo. I mean, you could fit anyone else in at that point. So you're getting all the tutties, all the points.
Let's see if Moore gives us an interesting cash game approach. So you're playing the cheap guy. You got to play Michelle. You probably want. Could you play Connor over Stafford? No. So I mean, there's your lineup. It builds itself a little bit. You know, this lineup builds itself a little bit. I could see another way of going where you throw one super turd in there that's not Moore, but rather like that tight end, that backup tight end guy, Blanton or whatever, the $400 tight end. And it might look something like this with Sony.
Yeah, mine's probably more of a 3 max the more I look at it.
Yeah, I love that build for single entry at 3 max with the Moore captain.
Yeah, I don't think it's the, it could be the nuts if Moore has a big game. By the way, there's nothing wrong with it. But if he doesn't, that turns into the nuts play if Moore just gets
1,000% it would. If he doesn't hit it though, and you got Murray get you 30, you're going to be swimming.
Yep.
In the shit tank. So that's the only thing you got going there. But I mean that if he gets a touchdown and 40 yards, man, you're going to be just smoking by everybody.
I was trying to see if this version with Cup, Blanton, Stafford could get us like an Ertz or a Kirk or one of these guys. It forces you to play AJ Green. Like it less. I was hoping to, but Cooper Kupp, Murray, Blanton, 7,800. You need Sony Michel. He's up top. If you went Connor or Hopkins,
I think we can agree that Murray and Michelle need to be in your cash build, regardless if you built one a captain.
And Cooper Kupp to me, you can't have it.
Yeah. So like if you put Murray up at captain and building it that way, you're going to have one turd, and you'll have Rondell Moore and one turd, and you'll probably have Kupp, Stafford, Michelle with Murray at captain.
Antoine never met like a value or any chalk that he didn't want to fade, and the that continues. I love it.
Moore's gonna be so chalky.
I love it. I thought he was going to say Blanton was the easy fade. So there's a couple different approaches. Obviously, you could see here because you have. I think Sony Michel needs to be in your lineup because of his price. At the 7K level, it's just hard for him not to get there. But, you're going to have to make some choices tonight. Do you want Kupp and Stafford together? Going to be hard to do. Kyler Murray is generally going to be preferable over a Stafford. So if I'm choosing between those two, I'm going with Murray over Stafford almost every time. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is a must play. So I'd rather play like a Stafford or even a Connor, I think, if I'm playing like a cash lineup.
Oh, for cash lineup, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a must play because, Hopkins might not outscore Odell.
No.
Or even Van Jefferson. Like, there's nothing that tells me he would be better. I don't think I'd want to use Christian Kirk in a cash lineup either. I'd rather use the players from the Rams. So I'd rather try to get to one of these guys. So without being able to sit here and go crazy, messing with it, you get a pretty good idea of some approaches. I go back to your call, Bobbywow. I actually think the Rondell Moore at captain does make some sense. It does, even if he doesn't do much. Man, it's tough though because he does get a lot of threes.
Yeah, the floor is too low, man.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Gonna have to think that through. All right, let's move on to the Golden Duel. FanDuel real quick. And what do we know about FanDuel, guys? We know that running backs and quarterbacks rule the day on FanDuel. It's much more difficult for wide receivers to get there at the MVP. It can happen, but in this game, so I just want to throw this out without flipping over on the notes. For me, in this game, the only guy who's a wide receiver who I think is getting there potentially at MVP is Cooper Kupp. I don't need anyone else. Thoughts, Bobbywow?
I agree. And this almost feels like almost a brute force type of night where I don't know that I'm even getting there. But yeah, from the wide receiver position, it's probably Kupp for me. Although with Ramsey out, I don't know. What do you think, Keg? D-Hop is a little more enticing.
Yeah, I mean, because everyone's going to go the Kupp route, and not as many people, just as ownership at the MVP. And if he does put up 2 or 3 touchdowns, which he can, he could be up there, and you're going to split it with a hell of a lot less people. So I'd be more apt to do this on FanDuel than I would so much DraftKings, just because kind of where everyone is going to play, at MVP. And it's like, if you're going to chop it with a bunch of people, I'd rather chop it with less of them. So I don't mind that.
Tough for me to see Hopkins getting there. He just doesn't get that much volume. He's just not getting 10 targets.
No, but the range of outcomes for him hitting that 3 touchdowns is like, if I was going to play one guy, it's like any of those guys could do it. But Kupp up there, yeah, it's he's going to hit it way more often, but you're going to be chopping it with way more people.
Yeah, and I think just to go to your point, Geek, about the QBs and running backs, I think we saw it again last night where Adams was the nuts captain on DraftKings. I think Rodgers was still the nuts captain on FanDuel. Correct. So it just goes to show you got to do a lot as a wide receiver to hit it on FanDuel.
Yeah. Some basic rules for the Dom Station, guys, when you're running the Dom Station. If it's Stafford, if it's Kyler, I don't care. If they're your captain, if they're your MVP on FanDuel, I'm going to get my words mixed up every single word I say. If they're your FanDuel MVP option, they must be mixed. They must be with a pass catcher. So for me, when I use Stafford, I like Stafford. I prefer Murray. Here's my order. I like both running backs. Murray would be my top guy as captain. As MVP. Top guy.
Yeah.
Must be stacked with 1. Don't need to stack him with 2. He spreads the football around. He runs for touchdowns, but he's probably not getting there as the MVP captain without throwing for a couple of touchdowns to somebody. So I'm going to stack him with at least 1 pass catcher. And we know the 5 names. It's so many names. It's hard with Murray. So many guys. But it has to be at least one of those guys. And on is James Conner? Could you consider Conner a pass catcher? No, I don't think Conner is part of that stack. So if it's Stafford, also definitely stacking him with 1. And there's an argument to be made for stacking Stafford with 2. I could, I just don't want to force it because FanDuel only has the 5 spots.
Are you talking DraftKings?
No, this is FanDuel at this point.
FanDuel, I wouldn't even stack Murray.
You don't think Murray gets stacked at all?
I mean, because I could see a possibility where, he does run 2 in, throw 2, but then on the other side, Stafford's, lighting it up and throwing it. Maybe he gets 1 to Michelle. Michelle gets 1 or 2. Beckham gets 1. And then, because he's so expensive, you got to play one of those turds and Blanton for 5,500, and he just kind of makes all that other crap work. So
you do not want too much of that turd either. So
no, but it's like it just makes I think it's going to be pretty popular in cash to play one of those dudes, because in tournaments, you can play whoever, but he just opens up so much, and you're hoping they gets a damn touchdown, because if he doesn't, you're not going to win anything.
You know what's crazy? The reason I'm thinking you have to stack Murray, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bobbywow, you won the Taysom Hill sweepstakes a couple weeks ago. And me and you basically ran the same fucking lineups. We both full faded Zeke. Like, we should have won together. Yeah. Except I did not force the stack of Taysom Hill, because I was thinking exactly like you're thinking, that, it's Taysom Hill, and I didn't have to. He can get there. And then I just didn't force it.
You're talking about this past weekend?
Last week's game, not this week. Okay. Last week's, it was a showdown with Tay-Tay, my boy Tay-Tay. Yep. And and me and Bobby before the thing, we're like, we're gonna brute force this thing and win it, but it's by fading Zeke. It was the Saints, it was the Dallas that we didn't want to play Zeke. We had our reasons, so we said, well, let's fade it. 50% on Zeke. Bobby and I said we're not going to play him. That worked out, and I should have won the tournament with you. Bobby took it down. He had a party. You see all those gifts under the Christmas tree. That's from that. You know what my kids are getting? Nothing, because I lost it, because I didn't stack Taysom. Told my kids this year it's not going to be Air Jordan sneakers, but Air Olympian sneakers. They have them over to Payless. 2 for $1. You get the second one half off. for the first. Yeah. I won.
Well, that's where it kills me with him too, because like this past weekend, right? I didn't say nothing in there. I was in first place in the early only for $100,000 for like an hour and a half. Hour and a half. I'm like, I ain't saying a damn word. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna drink my beer. And I'm like, and two damn separate plays. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, it's gonna take one big one. Well, because that was a stack with it had Prescott. It was Prescott to Cooper stack in that one.
Oh,
and so it was like they were doing what, and so Hill wasn't doing anything. And then he ran that useless ass touchdown where he sprinted off for 45 yards for a touchdown because he wasn't getting there. It was the Kamara got there, not him.
Yep.
So that right there put him over the edge where you needed both. But like it was just a useless play. And then the penny touchdown, the useless ass penny touchdown towards the bottom.
Oh my gosh.
He wasn't in that lineup. And it's like it dropped me from first to 46th in about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
but
that's
like,
how it goes.
It's all it takes. It's like so event driven one time. So it was like you're talking about the stacking. That's like I was so tilted. I was like, all right, it worked out. I didn't stack them. I only played one or the other. They both weren't going to get there, and they weren't. And then that time, it's like slide. You're up. You're not. You don't need that touchdown. What are you doing?
Got to take the touchdown though.
Put it in there.
So stupid.
So,
there was actually some really interesting over under and game total implications based around what happened there, but that's so a whole nother thing.
It's like I don't tilt me as much when the game's not already out of reach, but when it's out of reach, it's like
first of all, Shanna, where have you been? Glad to have you commenting over here. And yes, we've all picked Arizona. Well, I picked the Rams before Ramsey was out, but it's part of a Butler bet. I've lost the Butler bet with Anthony Gargano every single week this season, except for one.
On Arizona to cover.
You can lock in Arizona to cover as well.
Yeah, I did.
Lock in
Ramsey news. I locked it in.
Yeah, it's a lock button. It's a lock button.
No, now they're gonna lose because you just called the lock button.
No, every time. I don't win Butler bets.
Dang it, Geek.
It's a double Butler. This Anthony's already planning for he wants me. He's like, come for the holidays because we need a waiter. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I thought we were kidding about these bets, but he wasn't. I think he's taking it really serious. So I think I'm screwed. I got to win some of them. All right. Yeah. No, we all kind of like Arizona now to cover after the news. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, back to FanDuel. So yeah, love the running backs, Michelle, Connor. I think they're both definitely viable. Both are. This is the right grouping. And then if you get silly and play somebody not from this group, you're probably only going up against a few lineups because all the ownership should be concentrated. One thing Cooper Kupp's going to be higher owned than Kyler Murray. Hello, really? That seems crazy to me. I want to be over the field on Cooper Kupp, not on Kyler Murray. I'm going to be over the field a little bit on Matthew Stafford as well, but definitely on Kyler Murray. And we'll get all the Connor and Michelle. Beyond that, let's take a look at some of the salaries here. Hopkins 12.5, Connor 13.5, Sony. See if we got any value. Oh, Dell 10K. I don't mind that. Ertz over here. AJ Green touchdown scorer 9K. Not bad. Rondell Moore. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be hard to make lineups.
Yes, I mean, there's no good turds down here at all, man.
No,
they're just. Everyone's going to go Blanton because around the whole industry, that's where the projections are pointing towards is Blanton. It's like,
oh my goodness, if you play Kyler Murray, you're so fucked.
That's where you're sitting there though. Like that's the hard part. Or you're playing multiple pass catchers and running backs and not Stafford.
Well, that's probably why he's less projected than Kupp.
Exactly. Just the way that the math works when you do it.
I was going to suggest, what if we brute force Kyler tonight? What are your thoughts on that being viable?
I think the issue is when you look at the salaries, it doesn't work. I think this is where you're going to run into trouble.
Oh, so you're thinking it's going to be like the other night where it's not a point scoring issue. It might be more of just a salary issue. You can't get there because you're spending so much.
Yes, that's my primary concern is this one. When I just said, if you play Kyler, you're fucked. It's not because I don't think Kyler gets you 30 fantasy points tonight.
That's interesting.
It's like, what's the math going to be? Like, how can you really expect? I'm sorry, but Blanton and you definitely don't want more than two of these guys.
No.
So can you really expect Kendall Blanton? Like, can I really expect this guy to get anything better than a 0? So this is the issue. It's not. There's no one else. So okay, like you make this lineup, and it's like Murray, Stafford, Blanton, and Odell. Well, it's fucking got Blanton in it, right? Like he's probably going to get you a 0, and then so you say, all right, let me not use Odell, okay? But you're still at 7,500, 8K. So now you're playing with who? Ben Skowronek? He's got about as good of a chance of a 0 as Blanton. Rondell Moore? There's no 8,500. There's no one here. Like, I don't have a choice. I got to put in Skowronek. So, like, if you're the numbers are difficult. They're difficult. Where's Cup? 15K. Okay. So now I get out Skowronek. So here's a lineup that kind of works, but you got to play a kicker. So, like, this is... And you have Rondell Moore, who's a potential 0. It's going to be difficult on FanDuel.
Yeah, FanDuel's tough, man.
They did us dirty, but maybe they did us good. Maybe they're saying you have to play a turd. You've got to play one, and we'll bring them up on the screen. So this is the where my turds at thing, right? You're going to have to play one of Blanton, Demetrius Harris, Eno. I mean, there's not that many turds. It's crazy. There's not that many of them that are even mildly viable. I don't think these guys are even viable. Like Ben Skowronek, he's not really viable. Mekhi Sargent, he's not viable. Eno Benjamin, he's not viable at all either. And Demetrius Harris, next time he gets a fucking fantasy point, will be the first time.
No,
so
you got to play Blanton over here. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, you
tell me how much Blanton do I need? You tell me I got to fucking wait. Blanton and
Blanton
Hopkins
at least caught 2 balls all year. You give him that.
Essentially, I mean, what you're telling me, what you're telling me is that I got to play Blanton. If I'm playing Kyler Murray, I almost have to play Blanton or Hopkins, not the good Hopkins, the tight end Hopkins, in like 30 or 40% of my lineup, and I don't want to do it. So what's going to end up happening, I think, is you're probably going to have to make some lineups that don't have Kyler Murray or don't have either of Stafford or Cooper Kupp. These guys are not going to be easily combined. That's all I'm saying. I want to be 100% on Sony Michel, I feel like. So at least I'm going to cover myself there. I like James Conner. I like running backs in these type of contests. So I want to have a lot of that. Obviously, everybody likes Cooper Kupp. It's going to be really, really interesting to build for this one, guys.
I'll handle this. Yep.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Brian, when I say a 0, even Higbee wasn't getting like a ton of work, but no, Blanton could get you a 0. We've never seen him catch a pass in a game before.
He's got 2. He's got 2 for like 5 yards or something. Pull up. It's not
2 on an entire season. He's had 2 receptions this year.
His last one was like December 8th. I think he had one. I was looking him up and I was like, I remember Hopkins because I remember playing him in preseason because he's actually a really good athlete. But I mean, that's not going to translate of okay, go out there and catch his balls because it's just not. But
and by the way, a lot of these lineups force you to use Rondell Moore, who ain't that good either.
He's got 2 catches for 8 yards. His last one was against Jacksonville on December 5th.
I'm honestly slightly more interested in Hopkins than Blanton, but they're both big time turds.
You like Hopkins a little more? There you go. Like that's what I'm saying.
Just a little bit.
Because he's not going to have. He's going to have a fourth of the ownership, and the outcomes are probably very similar.
If it's the same guy I'm thinking of, he played for Purdue, I think, and was like a beast. But maybe I'm thinking of a different guy.
I thought he played for. Let me look. I thought.
All right, here we go. Hopkins, a converted wide receiver from Purdue.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. To step into a bigger role.
He played really well in preseason. Like I mean, he's a stud. But it's like, who are they going to put him out there or not? You know, he hasn't caught a ball all year, but Blanton has. So it's kind of like, why? Play him. He's got weight. He's definitely the better tight end when it comes to just athleticism for sure.
I think I'm just saying, if you're looking to get different and you have to play a turd,
by
why
far
not take some Bryson Hopkins shots?
I would have 3 times more Hopkins than I would Blanton if I'm going to take a turd by far. Not even close.
You like Hopkins? Both of you guys are saying Hopkins.
Yeah, because they're both crap. And take the guy that has less ownership.
Yeah, he stinks a little less. That's all.
Yeah, he stinks a little less. There you go.
The turd stinks a little less.
That's good enough for me. We have to follow the inactives, man. This guy's one of these. We don't know that these guys will even be active. I haven't seen this guy playing a game since October. So let's follow the inactives closely and see if these guys are even in or which of them. But stack my flex with your must plays and see what's left. I mean, yeah, listen, your must plays are fucking Cup and Sony and Kyler. I mean, he's talking more DraftKings, but going to pay up for Van Jett. It's going to be interesting. I reserved 150 for this, so it's going to be curious. But you definitely cannot just load up on Kyler Murray because Kyler at his price.
See, I think the tournament approach is to go, if you're playing Kyler and MVP, to not play Cooper Kupp. I think that's the tournament approach.
Or Stafford. And I think it's no Kupp and no Stafford, and then you wind up with a lineup that looks,
you need one of them.
But that's what I'm saying. You really can't. So you kind of get stuck with.
I'm playing Stafford. I don't.
It's hard to think that one of them's going to be there. But it's hard to put both. I mean, you can't put both of them. It's just
you also can't have Rondell Moore in every fucking lineup, and that's the way that this thing sets itself up. It sets itself up where you're forcing Rondell Moore because he's the only 7,500. Like below the kicker zone, it's Rondell Moore and two.
This is when you're building your things. You need to set that max exposure on Rondell Moore, so he's not 99% of your lineups because he's going to be shoved in every damn lineup that you have Murray or any high price guy in there. So.
Absolutely on the domination station. You're going to have to set some max limits on this one when you're running FanDuel because you're seeing what's going to happen. It's just going to force those turds in because the studs at the top are so great. And by the way, this also increases the likelihood that if Blanton or Hopkins, the cheapie, or Rondell Moore does anything, they're going to be in the nuts. Like that will like basically lock in. So you only probably need a couple of receptions from some of these guys to get you there. Would I use both Moore and Green in the same lineup? I'd rather not, but I'm not making a rule about it. I'd rather not, but I don't think that's a rule. They're not turds. Oh, he was asking if they're turds. They're not turds. They're both on the field. Do not limit those two. Guys, I think that's it. Let's call it a showdown breakdown. This was awesome. Remember, like and subscribe to the channel. Hit like. You like the video. Subscribe if you want to see videos like this more often. And, of course, get signed up at DFS Army if you want to use the domination station to smash this slate tonight. Me, Bobbywow, Keg, probably all going to be in first place on this one. Everybody, we hope all you guys watching take down these tournaments as well. And if it can't be me, I hope it's one of you or one of you two or anyone. As long as you watch it. Just give us a shout out afterwards. Like, yo, good call on Hopkins. But like, thanks, bro. Appreciate it. SB wants more Keg.
I think all of us do.
I got to finish NBA projections. It starts in 41 minutes. So
we got to let Keg go. He's got to do NBA projections.
I was like, man, we're running a little longer than I thought we were going to run. So.
Yeah, I usually take a little extra time. So that'll do it for the Showdown Breakdown. Where My Turds At special. Really good one. Super fun. Get the Keg on here with us. Always awesome. So we will see you guys at the top of the leaderboards tonight. Good luck, everyone.